Welcome to The Conspiracy Show. My name is Richard Sarat. Area 51 is a military base and a remote detachment of Edwards Air Force Base. It's located in the southern portion of Nevada in the western United States, 83 miles, 133 kilometers northwest of Las Vegas. Situated at its center on the southern shore of Groom Lake is a large military airfield. The base's primary purpose is undetermined. However, based on historical evidence, it appears to support development and testing of experimental aircraft and weapons systems. But because the base has been shrouded in secrecy and security is so stringent, it's been rumored that the facility is being used as a port for visiting spacecraft, or a venue for alien autopsies, or a lab where captured UFOs are reverse engineered to America's military advantage. On this episode of The Conspiracy Show, we'll attempt to unravel the mystery of Area 51. We're about to meet a ufologist, a historian, and an Area 51 activist who maintain it's quite probable many of the highly advanced craft witnesses have reported seeing flying above the desert around Groom Lake, or Area 51, are powered by back-engineered UFO propulsion systems. Also, they'll affirm that an Area 51 whistleblower, Bob Lazar, is credible. Lazar claims to have worked inside Area 51 and to have witnessed and worked on anti-gravitic propulsion devices, recovered flying discs, even alien bodies. We'll also hear from two individuals who belong to an organization called the International Roadrunners. Our two Roadrunners will explain that what actually goes on inside Area 51 has nothing to do with aliens or flying saucers. Me? I just want the truth, and I'm willing to follow it wherever it leads. It is time to redefine reality.
Over the years, stories circulated that the Air Force and the NSA and probably the CIA were reverse engineering downed UFOs at Area 51. And so it's become a cult magnet in the United States out there near Rachel, Nevada. It's a few hours out of Las Vegas. It's not too far from Rachel. It's on these lonely country, dusty roads. And over the years, even though Area 51 started off as a gunnery range in World War II, Area 51 has expanded, taking up more and more space, because as the rumors of UFO reverse engineering were going on, Area 51 began acquiring more and more land. So the only place to really get a good look at what's going on in Area 51 is to climb all the way up Tickaboo Peak and look down. But you better have a big telescope.
They seem to have moved very advanced, what many people believe is extraterrestrial technology, into the facility sometime in 1987, 1988. This is called Area 51, or Red Square, or the Box, because no standard military jets or flights are actually allowed to ever fly over it. Area 51 was originally called the Docktown Strip, the Groom Dry Lake Bed, and the names of the places have changed. It was then divided up into a series of projects like Dreamland, like S4. They seem to have moved very advanced, what many people believe is extraterrestrial technology, into the facility sometime in 1987, 1988.
Before 3 years ago, I would say the only evidence you had that UFOs were being reverse engineered at Area 51 was Bob Lazar's testimony and whatever John Lear said, and the videos from George Knapp, John Lear, and Bob Lazar, and the eyewitness testimony of Gene Huff. That was it. But then we went there, and we set up surveillance cameras all around the perimeter. And we were there for a couple of days. And you know what we saw flying over Area 51? We saw a UFO. And at first we thought, maybe it's some crazy advanced jet, who knows? If I hadn't seen a UFO with my own eyes, I would have said it's just testimony.
A majority of the technology that was actually recovered at Roswell was then taken to Hangar 18 along with the alien bodies. So there's 2 ships involved in the crash that people don't understand. There was the Roswell crash that actually had the debris field, and then there's the Corona crash in which they actually recovered the physical bodies and the majority of the technology. In regards to how Area 51 is linked to it, literally the technology of the latter half of the 20th century you can trace directly to the Roswell crash. Majority of this was actually taken to the Pentagon, and the Foreign Technology Division of the Pentagon, which was run by General Arthur Trudeau, and he had an assistant named Colonel Philip Corso. And Phil Corso was the military governor of Italy. He wrote a book before he died called The Day After Roswell. So you could actually then look at lasers, solid state technology, night vision technology, and that's not even beginning to talk about the energy potential of what actually powered the craft itself. So all of this came out of the Foreign Technology Division of the Pentagon. How Area 51 is linked to it is at one point, the people at 5-1, which is what it's called, it's not called Area 51, they just call it 5-1. The people at 5-1 asked the people at Wright-Patterson if they could take all of the various downed craft, and once we get one of these craft, we take it in to study it, and the guys at 5-1 asked them if they could then take a look at the ships to figure out how they work.
The first challenge for the folks at Area 51 was reverse engineering. Not UFOs per se, but reverse engineering of Soviet aircraft. That was the stated mission of Nellis Air Force Base, Groom Lake, Papoose Lake, in Area 51. But ultimately, the stories began circulating mainly because of Bob Lazar, who was a propulsion expert who said that he worked at Area 51 about flying saucer technology, the kinds of technologies that we were trying to reverse engineer from downed craft. And that's been the main magnet for UFO enthusiasts.
The Roadrunners Organization is made up of former military personnel, CIA officials, and defense contractors, many of whom worked on advanced aircraft like the U-2 spy plane inside Groom Lake, better known as Area 51.
When these aircraft were being developed, these aircraft were extremely fast, very high altitude. And at night, in certain cases at night, they'd take off, you'd see an afterburner. And then within seconds, it was miles away and the afterburner would light again. So, and then lights would come on, they'd have some lights on it, and all of a sudden that became a UFO. And the UFO was an unidentified flying object. And I guess at that point, the Central Intelligence Agency decided that aliens were a better cover story. And so they developed, the CIA developed the alien story.
SR-71 was made out of, a little side note with the story, it was made out of Russian titanium that was imported into the United States with a false flag company because Russian titanium was the best titanium available for what the SR needed to be built from. Unpainted, and at those extreme temperatures, extreme altitudes, and extreme speeds, it would glow red. And many of the test flights can be proven. As for dates for flights and a date for the Project Blue Book reports, they can be coincided to prove that that's what people were actually seeing, is an ultra-fast aircraft glowing red hot from its altitude and speed.
They were 50 years ahead of time in 1955. So it's like, I guess the Wright brothers are going by and a Spitfire goes by the Wright brothers at 400 miles an hour. That would be a similar scenario. The technology was so advanced at that time, and I believe the technology is continuing at about 40 or 50 years in advance.
The CIA, other intelligence groups, perhaps the Air Force, the Navy, were quite willing to allow this whole UFO story to develop because it proved a useful cover.
Yes.
It's very distracting.
Yes.
Have they, to your knowledge, or would you care to speculate as to whether they have purposely leaked certain documents relating to UFOs in order to facilitate that?
Well, I'd prefer not to.
I wouldn't talk about that.
So I understand the MO might be also that if that crash was witnessed by someone, they might then, they being the Air Force or whomever, plant a story that it was a UFO.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
In the matters of national security,
yeah.
there are no boundaries. Whatever is needed to protect the national security, they will make up whatever stories they have to.
If this was a cover story to cover for advanced aircraft, this really backfired. One of the problems with that is that everything is need to know. So if you're a roadrunner and you're working on SR-71 or whatever, you don't have a need to know about what's going on with UFOs. That's one thing. If they were cleared and if they were briefed on the thing, the question is, would you violate your security clearance? If you were briefed, would you violate your security clearance and tell us that the UFO thing was real? They know security, they cannot. If they were briefed, they cannot. They have to go with the cover story.
Tell me about Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar claimed to be a scientist who had worked at Los Alamos labs. It was later confirmed by George Knapp, who was a major investigative reporter in Las Vegas, that he did work at Los Alamos. Lazar was sort of an expert with jet engines, and he had a Honda car that had a jet engine in it. And what had happened was he was on the front page of the paper in the Los Alamos area. He's taken up to Area 51. He's first interviewed.
Bob Lazar is a very funny guy. On the one hand, he is a propulsion expert. I mean, he was developing his own propulsion system for cars. He was working on exotic propulsion systems. He claimed to have a degree in physics from MIT. He was hired to work at Area 51. Bob Lazar was being asked to work on a reverse engineering procedure for alien, otherworldly propulsion systems. And his introduction to that was fascinating because they said to him, okay, look, we want to show you what this is all about. So they're walking Bob Lazar down a corridor and they point to a doorway, and the doorway has a glass window in it. And they say, look in the window. Bob Lazar looks in the window and he sees a flickering candle. The person with him says, watch carefully. He watches carefully and the candle stops flickering. It's frozen. And Bob Lazar says, how did you stop the flame? And the person says to Bob Lazar, we never stopped the flame. What we did was we shot a beam of element 115 at that candle, and the candle is still flickering, but time itself is stopped. Element 115 is bringing the candle through time by rushing time towards it. So for you, standing outside that frame, it looks like time has stopped. Hasn't stopped. That candle is moving through time. That's the propulsion system we want you to reverse engineer. Well, Bob Lazar was flabbergasted.
And when he goes to the test site, most of the people there are working on aircraft. They're working on advanced aircraft engines. Lazar's background is engines. So do they put him up on the test site with what, thousands of people who are working on jet engines, advanced aircraft? No, they put him at S4. And S4 was a place where they had about 24 people working. The story they told Lazar was that there was an accident, some scientist who got killed. He was a replacement for this scientist. So they put him up at S4 instead of putting him working on rocket engines, and he goes to the area where they're doing the UFO research.
S4 goes down about 5 levels or so. And in the upper level, you had 9 very advanced aircraft. There were people that say that these were either extraterrestrial ships that we got in some kind of deal or had been shot down. There was one craft that had a big hole actually burned directly through it. And then you go down a second level. You have the top level, which is basically these 9 craft or ships, which they are back engineering and trying to figure out how to fly and make work. Mostly what they're doing is trying to figure out how not only the ships fly as far as the power source, but that the ships can not only fly in space, but also seem to be able to dilute and bend time at the same time that you're flying. There were people, the original test pilots that got in these things would just get up and make them hover, and 2 minutes would go by for them, and hours would go by for the ground crew outside. So there was a very odd time dilation going on. The second level was primarily for the various scientists on the base of the facility. The third level was for the security personnel. The security personnel outnumbered the scientists by something like 4 to 1. And then level 5 was very interesting because part of it was called an ambassadorial suite, where they were actually keeping living extraterrestrials, and the rest of it was primarily dedicated to what they call xenobiology, which is the study of extraterrestrial life forms. And they had a collection, a menagerie, if you will, of these ET life forms in glass tubes with metal strips in sort of a bluish liquid.
So Bob Lazar tells his story to the great John Lear, famous CIA pilot, the guy who says he flew Bush all around and everything, highly regarded pilot, test pilot, has a lot of awards. So he tells a story to John Lear. Well, then they tell the story to KLAS TV correspondent George Knapp. Let's go out to Area 51. Let's see a flying saucer. And one of the most famous, one of the most celebrated events, John Lear, George Knapp, Bob Lazar out at Area 51 capturing UFOs on video. I saw this with my own eyes. We saw the UFO. In fact, I saw it with my own eyes from our own surveillance cameras.
I'll step out of the line a little bit with Bob Lazar. And it has crossed my mind that it is possible that Bob Lazar was sent for disinformation purposes, to distract what was going on at the area. I have no doubt that Bob Lazar is an extremely intelligent person. I have no doubt that Bob Lazar may have experienced some classified things, as most of us that have worked in that type of environment have. But there's a part of me that believes that Bob Lazar was intentionally led for misinformation to guide things away from what was going on at Groom Lake, which I don't have a problem with that.
So you're convinced that some, most, all unidentified flying objects can be explained by sophisticated aircraft?
Yes.
I believe that too. I believe not only can be explained, but on the other side of that, we may never be explained to the public.
The individuals that we've been involved with see things that most people don't even dream about. Okay, these are very unique people, and they had the opportunity. Okay, being selected had the opportunity to carry out this type of research and development. So out of millions of people, there's a handful of individuals that are capable, and you just need to have the establishment available and the funding available to see this thing through. And so, with all due respect to the Central Intelligence Agency, they had the funding available and the security available to take on individuals capable of producing incredible technology that was so far advanced.
So there is a great story that the United States government created the mystique of UFOs to cover up their own development of top secret weapons, and that's partly true. But the funny part about it is it's true, but it's a cover story to cover a top secret event that came into being as a result of a true story about UFOs. As one CIA agent once told me, it's a great thing we have UFOs. If we didn't, we'd have to invent them.
Our skeptics on this episode are members of the International Roadrunners Organization. They may or may not have worked inside Area 51. They're not allowed to tell us, but they have been authorized to tell us certain things. We've just heard them reveal that technological achievements and breakthroughs being made inside Area 51, like propulsion systems and cloaking devices and advanced aircraft, have nothing to do with aliens and flying saucers. But they insist the technology and the science is every bit as mind-blowing and decades beyond what we might presently think is possible. Our ufologist, historian, and Area 51 advocate, on the other hand, would have you believe the best explanation for such advances in aeronautics, weapon systems, and propulsion systems is the back-engineered alien technology hypothesis. Quite frankly, I find either scenario absolutely mind-blowing. If inside Area 51, scientists are developing anti-gravity devices or spacecraft that can approach the speed of light or can appear invisible to the human eye, I don't care if we got the technology from aliens or whether we mere Earthlings created it ourselves. I just want to know more. Like, what else do we got? And now, I'd like to know what you think. You can get in touch with me through the website, theconspiracyshow.com. In the meantime, don't be afraid.